Since we don't really know what we did, I'm not so sure, but okay, I see the recording button on. Good job, Cynthia.
Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is our first maiden voyage of the Let Them Theory book club, and what I want to do is I want to go over the kind of the introductions and the questions that we kind of did as a blog, and then I have a little kind of team building game I thought we'd end up with, coming from that article that I sent you all, because it's kind of fun and I want to incorporate it in the meeting at the bridge too. So anyway, I am Sue McGuire, and I am kind of a semi-retired school administrator and organizational development person. And with Sandy Dixon, we started this podcast about, what's it been, Sandy, about 9 months ago. And
Yeah.
it's quite a learning experience, and we're having fun meeting lots of people and sharing lots of stories and lots of good insights. And we decided to start a book club. And if you are listening to us and you want to join us, please just email me or email Meeting on the Bridge. That's the name of our podcast and our postings. And we'll get you on board. Right now, we're doing some postings with chats, but I'm still learning how to do that. And so I'm using my email also to send questions. So that's a little bit about me. Sandy, you want to go next?
Sure. I am retired and I am almost 70 years young. I turned 70 in a few days. So this is, it's been quite a journey. My life has been very blessed, and I am so excited that we get to have a conversation and learn from each other.
Okay. So, Cynthia, you want to go next?
I'm happy to. Cynthia Shelton, a former educator, retired and now rewired, helping women and men achieve the best health and live their longest, best life. I don't want to live long without don't live well. So living well and
Right. That's right.
Amen to that. Amen. Mishkat, how about you?
Thank you, Sue. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you all today. My name is Mishkat Al-Mumin. I'm the founder and president of the Communication of Success, a company dedicated to empowering educators and nonprofit leaders to find growth opportunities, including personal and financial. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you all here today, and I look forward to the conversation. Lastly, I apologize for not showing my face. We had a bit of a technical difficulty, but despite that, we are all here for you.
Yes.
Right.
That's great. And you know what? Our best intentions today was to be on the other website that I usually use, Restream, and it just wasn't cooperating today. So we pivoted. We're doing our organizational improv, and Cynthia got us on her Zoom call, so that's what we're working on today. And ladies, what I'd like to ask you to do, we did have some questions ahead of time. We're going to go through those questions and each of us answer and give our examples. But since you guys are kind of the founding core of this book club, if you have questions that have come up, please go ahead and we'll ask them at the end, besides our little forming activity that's we're going to do as well. So I'm going to start out with the first question that I asked had to do with Mel Robbins' introduction. And for those of you who are not familiar with Mel Robbins, she is a podcast host, and she wrote the Let Them Theory book. I'm not sure how long ago, because I know it's been out for a while, but I think it's profound. She's got lots of great ideas in it. And so it kind of fosters really good communication as well as good examples and stories. So the first question was, how does Mel Robbins introduce and explain the main psychological mechanism behind the 5-second rule in her introduction to the Let Them theory? And what do you think the purpose of it is? So she has a book called The 5-Second Rule, and it's based on what she did to get herself going, because she had some really rough circumstances, which we all go through that. And she just basically did like she was launching a rocket ship. And she did a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And whether or not she launched out of bed or made that phone call or made that visit, that kind of propelled her. Mm-hmm. My example is I never used the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but I did I just sort of thought of it as, if I'm thinking of it, what's the baby step I can take toward it? And I find that taking action is a very important step, even a tiny baby step, even a big toe step, because that helps propel me. And if I do that, then I kind of know that same day whether or not it's going to fly or whether or not I need to drop it. So it's kind of a launching pad. So that's kind of my example. Who'd like to go next with their example?
Well, in listening, so many times I overthink a project. So what I find is that breaking it down into steps and writing it down has helped me be able to make little chunks and accomplish one thing at a time and be able to cross it out at the end of the day when it's accomplished. And then it doesn't seem so overwhelming, because what Mel talks about is her just feeling like, oh, my world is crazy. Where do I go from here? How am I going to turn the trajectory of my life? And I think, again, looking at maybe one thing at a time sometimes and then going from there.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Who wants to go next? Okay,
I knew that this book group would be good, just to push me to learn more ways to improve myself. I knew your conversations and your discussions would be excellent. You know, I've been using Mel's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the morning to get me out of bed. Mm-hmm. The alarm can go off and I can push up the buzzer. And then I've used her to get me out of the house so that I can take a walk, you know, and especially if the weather is a little inclement and I don't want to go. And sometimes I have to confess, I can say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 20 times.
That's right.
I mean, it isn't like the first time works, and
I love it.
But it does. I don't give up until I finally have done it. I mean, it's like, quit saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quit doing it. Now, I love the way Sandy is incorporating it into helping her professionally and with project breakdown. So I've used it to pick up the phone when I didn't want to call someone and I knew that I needed to talk to them, but I was intimidated. Yeah. So in Sandy's way, she's now taken it to implementing a project, and sure. I won't dominate anymore. Mishkat, it's your turn. But
well, and I like the fact that she made a list and she can check it off.
Right, I do too.
There's power in that, checking it off.
Right. Oh, don't you love it? Don't you love it?
Oh yeah, you feel so good.
Oh
and
yeah.
One of those things where it when I do that, it doesn't seem as overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like the fact that you have to do it more than once.
You're being real, Cynthia. I love that.
I mean, we're a small group here. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you bet.
Mishkat, how about you?
For me personally, I like the de-attachment aspect of Mel's work. When she talked about let them go, it gives the power, the agency to the person, not to focus on what other people are thinking of them or how do they perceive them. that ties into the opening of the book when she says that she lost her job. She was in debt more than $800,000. That kind of gave her agency because she's talking from experience. And then the agency transfers to the reader. So I look around and I see almost everyone, including myself, focusing on what do other people think about us? Did I behave accordingly? Did I do something out of the ordinary? What mistakes did I do today versus, what accomplishments I did today? So, here I am.
There she is. Woohoo!
Welcome.
Love it.
Whoops. Now, do we have the volume?
We do have volume.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you hear me?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So that part was really empowering for me. I have been working on letting it go for more than 20 years. Due to my upbringing, I was brought up in the Middle East. You have a lot of norms and cultural expectations, especially of women. And I didn't achieve my academic goals until I start letting go. To give you an example, when I was accepted in my PhD program, I was the only woman in my class. My father's sister came to him. She was his elder sister. He had a lot of respect for her. She told him, get your girl out of this program right now. Who's gonna marry her?
Yeah.
Even if someone has a PhD, they don't want a competition in their world.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was deeply invested in my education. Luckily enough, my father agreed with me and supported me in that adventure, endeavor, however you want to describe it. But rather than focusing on how the society will perceive me, how, let's say, my future personal life will develop, I focused on the now. I felt invested in this program. I wanted to learn more about international human rights. I was searching for some sort of an answer where there is a world that respects human rights versus, the current reality that was living under the Saddam Hussein's regime, one of the most oppressive regimes in the 20th and the 21st century. So letting go empowers you, whether, you read the book or heard about it or just simply believe in this philosophy.
Absolutely. And
Well,
I'm-
one of the things too that I also wanted to share with you is that on page 10, when she's telling her story, she says, changing my life wasn't glamorous, it was grueling. And that's exactly what Cynthia and Mishkat are talking about. And what you are referring to is the fact it wasn't easy. It was an intentional thing, and it was grueling at points in times. You had to bite the bullet and go through.
Yeah, the first step is hard, but I'm hunching with both of you, all three of you, because I know it's true for me, that first step, I don't have to tell anybody what it was. I mean, it's probably embarrassing. It's a tiny first step, but it does foster that personal agency. There's something inside you that gives you the intestinal fortitude to stick your toe in the water. You need support, but there's something in you too. And so the let them is just let them go, because it's you, it's your life. It's powerful. Okay.
I definitely agree with you, Sue, on that aspect. Whether you are implementing a project, whether you are getting out of bed, or similarly, just like my son who is conducting his own podcast and stream, he explores a concept and a Japanese manga called Rent a Girlfriend. It has to do a lot with cultural nuances, symbolism, and oftentimes the manga is misunderstood. And he and I discuss it, and he kind of shares with me like how people are approaching it from a stereotype perspective. And I often find myself telling him, let them. So what?
Yeah.
Even though I give him examples from history where artists struggled, but in a way, each artist, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all of them, they struggled to get the message out, but
Right.
it did not stop them. So by the end of the day, they practiced the let them theory.
Yeah. And that step, even though it might not seem logical or that it makes sense in anyone else's eyes, it gives you the grounding you need to make the next step. You know what I mean? Your feet are in the dirt. You're getting more grounded. You're more firmly believe in what you believe in. It's very grounding. So yeah. Okay. So anyone else with any final things about this question before we move on? We were just on the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 baby step forward.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see. The next question is, let me see if I can find myself. She talks about I don't know. I think this must still be in the introduction. She talks about the imposter syndrome. And I know we've had young leaders on here that say, that's been up for them. And I know it certainly has been up for me in and out of my life. And so the question is, have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome? And in my example, it's probably not the most recent one, but one that just jumps out at me was the night before I started my first full principalship job. I had what I would call a nightmare. And I was in the halls of the school, and I was completely naked, and there was no clothes. There were no clothes. There was no room to run into, and I was just there, vulnerable. And that's happened to me before, but that was pretty stark and scary because I didn't want to show. I had a brand new suit. I didn't want to show up with no clothes on. So that's my example. And so who's got another imposter syndrome story for us?
Well, I've always thought that I was pulling the wool over the people that hired me. But there's nothing wrong with that because then you have to live up
Right.
to what you have said you're able to do or you're capable of, or you deserve that job. You believed in yourself.
Yeah.
And so then you get the job and you go, oh my God, I hope they don't find out I really am not as good as I thought said I was.
So that I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm playing this by ear.
Yeah.
And, I've always thought you don't want to just change a job and go across parallel. You always want to stretch up.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to push yourself and go for something that's the word stretching you. So yeah, Sue, I mean, it's natural that we would just feel like, oh God, I hope they don't find out.
What am I doing now?
Right.
Absolutely. Somebody else with a good imposter syndrome story?
I will try. To be honest with you, the experiences that I had were mostly about people trying to make me fit a mold they had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I deep down felt I don't belong to that mold. And at first, I tried my best to fit that particular mold, whether, it was how should we teach. For example, teaching at the law school in Baghdad was always about lecturing. I personally find lecturing disengaging and a waste of time for the students and myself. So rather than trying to do that, I started my own approach. In a way, I examine the imposter syndrome and I try my best not to fall into it, but rather, how to present another aspect where, whatever message I'm trying to convey, whether I'm trying to lead a class, whether I'm trying to help a student, help a client, to present it to them. Another or a most recent example, I was meeting with a client and presenting growth opportunities for them. While the growth opportunities were tailored to their needs, in a way, I wanted to present something more. So I kind of developed this habit and I did offer something more. That here's the mold, here's what you expect me to do, here is the imposter syndrome that's there. However, here is another approach. Here are both of them together. Mm-hmm. So which one would you choose?
That's good.
Honestly, this idea that there is something expected of you, there is a certain way that you should behave, you should conduct yourself. This is, let's say, how all educators conduct themselves. If we continue on this path, there is no progress. We will be just repeating ourselves again and again and again.
Yeah.
And rather than doing that, investing in what I'm going to call option C. And for those who would like to, take a minute and explore my Substack, I did talk about it.
Very good. Yeah.
I think yesterday.
Yeah.
So feel free to look it up. It's called Dr. Mishkat, the handle, and you can check it out. It's very important for us as individuals, as professionals, to acknowledge that there is imposter syndrome and provide the alternative. There is an alternative. Once we do that, then we start investing not only in ourselves, but in our community, in our stakeholders, clients, students, because we give them varieties, we give them options, rather than trying to kind of restrict them to one path.
Yeah, I like that because it's the options are good, and also you're breaking the mold and giving an option. You know what I mean? You're kind of doing both simultaneously by Circle C, as you called it in your article. And in a way, it can be challenging, and I can ask you this, but because you all, both of you and your client, have to wait for the results, to see that it is going to, it's going to succeed, but it might be new for them. And so it's really kind of opening the box.
So Sue, my experience in feeling like faking it till you make it kind of thing is that my degree was in early childhood education. And in that degree, it did not have a area of administration, talking about administration. And I ended up getting hired to be a director of an early childhood center. And boy, did I feel like I was doing exactly that, and being an imposter because I didn't have all the information that some people might have had. I had to learn on the job. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of a scary situation because I knew what I lacked. Mm-hmm. And, 30 some years later, I think I finally made it.
Well, the other thing, Sandy, is as a learner, you are more powerful than the people who went in positions like that and just so-called knew what to do.
Yeah.
You were a learner, and you took stock in what your staff, and it worked. And that's really true of the imposter syndrome. But we have to flow with it, and we have to get over feeling inadequate and just be ourselves.
And I think the first thing that you do, no matter what job you have, is get to know your audience and build relationships and build communication and a trust. And I think all of you ladies would agree with that. Before you do any, huge changes or whatever, it's not appropriate. So you can kind of sit back and wait and learn, without being on that front line of battle and showing up as not knowing, because you can learn while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm. And you've touched on the one of the most important pieces of leadership, and that's building a community of learners, getting to know your people. Mishkat, I know with your communication theories, it's about getting to know the student and getting to know what they really need. And Cynthia too, you get to know your clients. You did this in education too. It's that human element, and it comes out in the work that all of you do today. It's about building those relationships. Very, very true. All right, anything you want to add before we move on to the next question? Okay. This is the first question in chapter 1. And it says, Mel says that the let them theory is about freedom. Do you find this concept to be true for you? And I'll go ahead and start. I believe it is about freedom because it frees me to not take feedback personally from somebody else. And it's very, very true. And I find it difficult. I don't find it difficult to teach people how to do it, but I do find it difficult in my own life, especially in my family or people that I know personally. It takes me a while to process. I need to say let them about 25 times before I get to the point of saying, let them and then let me do that. It just takes a while for me to process. And that's because, and I'm going to say this about all of the three of you too, I perceive you to be highly empathetic. And for highly empathetic people, taking things personally is difficult to release and not let that bind you up. To be free from that is really powerful. So I'm still learning. I'm well into my 70s, Sandy, and I'm still learning.
So there's hope for me yet?
Oh, you're way ahead of me.
I am so glad you were so honest, Sue. It's so important to lay it out. I thought, I didn't get it, because I can't just say let them and then walk away the one time. It's the one I have the most trouble with is my husband. I keep wanting to tell him what to do. And I'm working hard on just let them. And I go, yeah, but I need to tell him what to do. And so I am practicing this let them at home with my friends. I use Myers-Briggs personality inventory to help me a lot.
Yeah.
Because if I can understand that somebody is an introvert or somebody is a P quality, which is kind of opposite of my J quality, I can be judgmental, and I need to practice saying, it's okay. They're more playful than I am. They can relax. They procrastinate better than I do. And
well, and remember that the T's, and if you're a T, I'm not. I'm an F. I'm a feeler. But T's tend to be harsh.
Yeah, and so I can feel hurt personally. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, he may need to say to you, so I heard you say this. Could you reframe it so I don't take it personally? Yeah. It's, it takes as long as it takes us, and it's not, they're not magic words with a magic wand.
Right.
It's a processing tool. Yeah. All right. Who's next?
Well, honestly, I say to myself, probably more than 100 times a day, let them. sometimes trauma can exaggerate things. And because I lived in war zones and whatnot, things get exaggerated in my mind. That's number one. Number two, no matter how hard you work on trauma, glimpses of it will surface here and there. So you find yourself, and sometimes that happens to me a lot, revisiting or reliving the past. It took me more than 15 years just to start working on my book, because each time I wanted to write, I feel like I'm, stabbing myself hard or something. So I want to avoid the pain. Therefore, I'm not gonna write about it. But what works for me is that not only to say, let them, but sometimes I invest more. I say, okay, so what? So what if that is the perception here? How will it impact me? And sometimes, especially when working in nonprofits and you have like a small team, and then you are expected to fit a certain mold. This is how you should dress. This is how you should behave. This is how you should talk. And honestly, to me, it feels a little bit too controlling. So what I say to myself always is, this is me. And if they like me for who I am, I would always like them for who they are. But if I try to change and become someone else, and then they don't like that someone else, and I change and change and change, by the end of the day, I won't be able to recognize myself in the process.
Right.
So rather than doing that, I would present myself as I am. Here is me. And I hope you can accept me, because I will accept you. I had students coming to me with severe problems that involved, issues with, conduct. As you know, I worked in military schools, and oftentimes you have very strict rules. Mm-hmm. And students are young, and oftentimes they do something here and there. They didn't come only for support. So there was an action on my behalf that they were trying to get me to do. But the first step is that, they felt comfortable sharing with me these embarrassing details, these issues. As we said earlier, and I think Sandy was really vocal about it, that we need to build trust, we need to listen to our teams. And that's how I treated my students. They were my team. Some of them came talking about issues with domestic violence, substance abuse, and it impacted how the military unit perceived them. And they needed someone to advocate for them. And I always, did that part. Sue, you talked about empathy. So leaders, educators, we are empathetic probably by nature. That's why we chose this path. But nevertheless, to balance the let them approach with the advocating for rights approach. So, let them doesn't mean that you should not advocate for your rights, for your student rights, for your community. They go hand in hand.
Right.
That part was always there for me. To close my remarks, I find myself stronger when I advocate for others versus when I advocate for myself. And it took me a while to learn how to advocate for myself. The way I kind of approached it and was helpful to think of myself as a client. So I would say to myself, here is your client, here is what they have, what would you do, how would you help them? Of course, the first 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts were failures, but by the end of the day, I learned how to do it. Nevertheless, I could move heaven and earth for someone other than me. But when it comes to me, probably I will maybe just try to shake the tree. But at least I'm taking action versus not taking action at
Yeah.
all.
So Mishkat, I have a question for you because it just popped up in my head. I used to tell people that nobody's coming to validate you.
Yes.
You need to become a self-validating machine. And what you just described kind of is the process of how you do it. You know, you start by advocating for others, but you are so much more a strong role model as you can start validating yourself, because then it's a mirror out to your students and it helps them. You know, they've got a stronger wall to climb up than if you're not strong in your beliefs and who you are. So, but it is a process. It's not easy. And we so often look for validation in others,
Right.
and it's not coming.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. We look for validations in job titles and, recognition, awards, medals, even and like clicks. So when someone likes your post, you feel validated. The higher the number, the more validation you feel about it. But nevertheless, you put your work out there for a reason. And that reason by itself is the validation.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's easier said than done. Every human being, I haven't come across somebody who does not like validation. I have to be honest, even my cats want to feel validated. I think it's a kind of part of life, It's a way to connect to people. But nevertheless, start your first step away from validation. And usually it starts with a question. What would I do if no one is seeing? No one is watching. What would I do to choose if no one would to judge me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the answer to these questions helps you find your career path. As a learner, as an educator, you want to go to the next step. Learners want to graduate. Educators want to elevate their status, and so on and so on. But without these questions to guide you, you will never know what's your next step.
Right.
And then you end up repeating yourself, feeling burnout, feeling bored, feeling disengaged. But the reality, the bottom line is that either you didn't ask these three questions or you didn't answer them truthfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Okay, who's next?
Sue, it's an hour, so
Oh, that's all right. Is your recording have to stop?
no, I'm just
Oh.
wondering, Sandy does need to contribute on this one because but were you planning to go over an hour?
Well, I had an activity, but we don't have to do it today.
Well, let's hear from Sandy, but okay, I just have to go out this evening and I've got to get ready for it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make my.
No, don't make it short, Sandy. I needed to be the timekeeper.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Keep us on the straight and narrow there, girl.
Yeah.
So where I have found the freedom in Let Them is we all have our biases, and I have found freedom in seeing people beyond my judgment. It allows me not to judge people, but let them. And each person, each to their own in their life choices. And I wanted to give an example of when our kids were adulting. We as parents would sit there and we would watch them and we would think, what in the world are they doing? It's easy to forget that we were at one time their age. And it's good for us to reflect and remember about what we had to do to grow into being adults and not judge them as they make their choices So one of the fun things that has happened recently is that my husband has started telling some stories, writing down some of the stories of his kidhood. And he had me read some of them back to him this last weekend. And I tell you what, he was a live wire. And I said, how you have forgotten. He burned a field thinking he was going to make a track, and, just all these things. And it's like, babe, you have forgotten what you were like as a kid, because now we have grandkids this age. And he's still looking at him and thinking, what in the world? And it's because he's forgotten his process of growing. And I think that it is really freeing to say it's not my decision as to what people choose to do. And I can care about you even if I don't agree with you.
Mm.
And I really, I like that concept. And I'm like the rest of you ladies, it doesn't happen easily. It's like a practicing thing over and over and over again, because that is not human nature. We think we have a better idea because we're smarter, or and that is not the truth. We're all in the same boat of trying to discover who we can be and be the best be the best of who we can be.
Yeah.
So good. It's so good.
So, what we'll do to close is we'll just do the typical, what's one takeaway from our conversation? And then we'll get online to schedule our next sort of a podcast on the book, if that's okay with everybody. I think it's great to record it. I think that's very helpful. So
I'll send it to you, Sue.
Okay, thank you. And all right, so Mishkat, you start. What's one takeaway?
For me, it's let them be themselves. Avoid trying to mold people into who you want them to be, just like Sandy was saying, and accept the reality over potential.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Yeah. Cynthia, how about you? One takeaway.
I love your word of taking action, Sue. And for me, when I learn new things, unless I put it into action, it's just a good concept. It's something I learned and it goes out. So applied action means listening to what you all are saying, realizing that it does take more than just, hey, reading that book and, all of a sudden I can let them. This is practice. This is acknowledgement and practice and accepting myself, because I'm still struggling with some of the things that I have trouble letting them be. And my biggest takeaway is hang in there, Sandy. You're doing okay. Just hang in there and keep going.
Sandy, how about you?
Well, the takeaway is the transparency that we have, that I have felt we shared together in this time that we spent. And I love that. I don't like phony baloney. Be real about your journey, because that's how we learn from each other. That's how we learn about ourselves, is to be able to reflect and say, yeah, this is an issue. I struggle with this. Mm-hmm. And that's how we can be the support of each other, is because we're being honest.
Right. My takeaway is the wonderful examples you all brought. The life is in the examples and the richness and the acknowledgement that we all go through issues and struggles, and that's really where the learning is. So thank you, Cynthia, for rescuing us and recording. And I will send out to all of the four of us a couple of questions from chapter 1, maybe a couple of questions. I might move into chapter 2, and then we'll together figure out the next time that we meet.
I got to tell you, the time went by fast. It was
Yes.
I loved it.
And we'll do my little activity later. So
okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. So
thank you to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye, and you have fun tonight, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Blessings,
meeting you,
everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.